We are about to enter strategy pilot segment of our agenda. Item number 10, so well done guys for making it this far. So Elaine and Jeff are going to share the strategy pilot plans that were posted on the PDA site, the comments that came, and talk about next steps there.
And this is mostly Elaine. I'm going to just do a couple slides up front here. So I promised to give a quick overview of the feedback. And so you're going to get the very quick, last night overview of the feedback.
It came in yesterday, right?
It closed the 23rd. Closed on the 23rd. We were getting comments. I haven't totally figured out PDA and how it works. Comments came in until probably around 9 p.m. And then
It's open till 11:59 p.m.
Is it?
Interesting.
Oh,
It's not
thank
5
you.
o'clock
It's
yet.
actually literally end of day.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's how I work.
That's good to know. So we did post for 2 weeks. We received some feedback. It'll be incorporated into updated scopes of work. And then we will have a webinar on February 9th, where we'll kind of, the process, how it's kind of laid out in the handout is we'll get a scope, post it for comments, incorporate comments, and then have a public webinar where we go over the updated scope of work and talk through how we incorporate the comments. So we will hold that on the 9th of February. And then just real quick, we had the two pilots. We had the one about geographic targeting using ESRPP. We received 4 comments from 4 different individuals, 3 from the public, 1 from MTAB, 9 comments total. And then on the portable heat pump, which I thought would get more comments. Only got the 1 from an MTAB member, 4 comments total. I'm not going to go through what they are to give them kind of a quick review. I think they're all helpful and pretty easy to incorporate. So we'll just be doing that over the next week, and then we'll have the webinar on the 9th. Pretty brief of an update. I will, before we move on to the pilot overview, Elaine, just kind of a quick acknowledgement here that these we're calling them. We use pilot, pretty often is the terminology here. These are, we don't consider these the same as kind of the rolling portfolio pilots. These are more of a strategy test where we are looking to kind of implement some kind of a test, but not necessarily claim energy savings for it. We're really just trying to validate something that we might use as a strategy that hasn't been validated elsewhere before. So any comments or questions on that before we dive into this?
Well, just to distinguish also then between the technology-focused pilots, which are being done by CalNext, I saw some reference in these, I didn't have a lot of time to go through them, but are you coordinating with, if there's a technology question, would you partner up with?
100%. Yeah, we are, continuing to deepen the relationship with the next program and the emerging tech programs in general in California. It's been a little bit of a challenge the first year. They got up and running before we did. We're trying to coordinate as much as we can. They provided feedback to our master plans. You provided feedback on their TFPs. I really do see that over the course of the next year, kind of that relationship continuing to get closer.
Yeah.
So you might think, there's a future here where we look at a pilot that might have been appropriate for next, but it doesn't currently fit into their kind of workflow or the priority maps they have. But likely in the future, they would do some of that work.
Thanks.
Okay. So yeah, as Jeff mentioned, these are different. We debated a lot on the term these things, right? Jeff Harris will remember.
Yes.
The term pilot was often debated, but we ended up landing strategy pilots. So really, what these are about are learning about interventions that we may or may not have a lot of experience with, right? So gain insight into consumer and supply chain behaviors and test some actual interventions. And I think that's an important distinction. And you'll notice the 2 pilots we have so far are with ESJ communities, right? MT isn't historically done a lot there. So it makes sense that these are the first three pilots that have come up. And also, remember, these are done in the context as a complementary piece of research with the ongoing market characterization and the product assessment work. So it's all going to build the pieces of the elephant, right, together. They're not in isolation. One of our, as you all know, is the criteria that we have to get these pilots completed this year so they can inform the advancement plans for phase 3. So that was a big thing about how to get these things rolling quickly. And do we have partners who are already working in this space a little bit that we can tag on to? That was a lot of what informed the development of these pilots. Like ESRPP is something that already exists. Can we test that and adapt that for an ESJ potential play? It's kind of what we see from these two pilots. And execute quickly and build upon some existing channels in California. So they're a little bit different than what you saw in the advancement plans. Jeff mentioned this. So the ESRPP one that straddled both induction and portables was in the advancement plan. We nixed the induction messaging one and added the installation one on portable heat pumps. Right?
I'm getting a little bit ahead, but I know for the ERT you said that you were planning to do a pilot, but you pushed it back. Would the timeline for that pilot also to be done before the game?
I think the likelihood of doing an ERT pilot this year with that timeline is not feasible. Yeah. Okay, any question on these kind of overarching? Anything to add, team? So let's dive a little bit into the first one that again spans portable heat pumps and induction stoves. So the idea is to test the retail product platform or Energy Star retail product platform. I know it's named a few other things.
In California.
In California, it's
RAA.
There's another term I've learned.
Retail concepts.
Yeah, anyway, it's the partners of Lowe's, Best Buy, Home Depot, and the nationwide buying group, which serves independents, are the partners that are currently in that program. And the idea is to see if we can leverage that current platform and the data gathering and the systems and the relationships with these retailers to see if we can pivot them to targeting stores in zip codes that primarily serve ESG communities with product that is on the lower range of product. So MSRP product that in the portable range, especially in the induction range, that is more not super high end with all the bells and whistles product. And that's, as you recall, one of the goals of induction is to get more product out there that will serve at a more appropriate price point. Yeah.
Question on that specific issue, and I'm sorry to drag us down to the details, but at a previous meeting, I asked the question, could we be using the portable induction cooking devices that are not permanently installed cooktops or ranges that could give people an experience with induction cooking at a much lower entry-level price point that would fit better with an ESJ community sticker price. Any thought about that?
I think we'll ask for that data
Okay.
and see if that's something we can do. Absolutely. That is a consideration. Because I don't know that there is a whole lot of product in the standard form that is in the price point we're looking at. So we'll see. So barriers that we're looking to investigate through this pilot is the cost issues for primarily ESG communities. Can we impact the product availability and the retail stocking practices around the specific subproducts? And of course, awareness of these products. These touch on all aspects of the conceptual logic model. And just this is kind of a reminder for those of you who aren't familiar with ESRPP, this is how the current ESRPP model is already set up. So you have, the supply chain here with hundreds of manufacturers, millions of customers, that the leverage point is really at this mid-level point with the national retailers and the buying groups. And the goal of this program has been, it's been around, 10 plus years, maybe, grant,
2015.
has been around, manufacturers will respond to the market changes that they see at retail, right? They will, if they're seeing more product and retailers pushed, stocked, purchased, that's going to impact their product design, which then impacts the voluntary standards for these products down the road. It's a midstream incentive that goes to the retailers for them to decide what to do. So it's not visible to the consumers downstream. There have been some products, I think, that have experimented with some direct marketing, but it's not to the customer, but it's not a big component of the current program. The program currently deploys specific interventions by the particular product itself. So if it's air fresheners, or it might be, an emerging tech, it might involve a few different interventions. But there's lots of tools in the toolbox, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. And then again, the ultimate impact is to influence the specifications and standards which affect manufacturing. So our test is to figure out if there is an opportunity to adapt this program for the ESG community specifically. So that's what we're bringing new to the table for this pilot. And I think there's an opportunity to learn and impact the national program. Maybe this is something, if we can figure out how to work and figure out in California, maybe this could be something that the Northwest could do, right? So there's an opportunity to have more influence with retailers that can impact them. So the pilot currently, the research objectives that have been set forth, that you saw in the document, were again, as can ESRPP be adapted to target identified zip codes that serve ESG communities and drive sales. With more affordable products available and visible on the floor, do ESG communities purchase Induction and portables? And gather full category data. We all know how important this data has been in the past and will be going forward. It's used all kinds of ways, right? For the standard process, for program evaluation. And there's a whole system that's already in place to gather this data, which I think is a huge leverage point, right? It's hard data to get, and for us to do it from scratch is very challenging. So I think that's a big benefit of trying this pilot. And I think we tacked on this possibility of an AC turn-in event to drive awareness and sales. We had a few conversations with retailers about this who were intrigued by this idea. I don't know if that's going to make it through. It doesn't necessarily. I think that one of the comments we got was, how does this, serve the full MT plan for portables? I think it's something we want to learn about, and people's awareness of the differences in these refrigerants and disposing of ACs properly, but I'm not sure we'll make it. We'll see.
I have a question about the portables. I remember, and I have one, so there's like a safety issue and also energy, like that thing that spits in your window is about that thin and has absolutely no R value at all.
Mm-hmm.
Are we at all concerned about kind of the negative reaction of people, especially the safety part of it, where you could just rip that thing out and come in somebody's window?
I think we're definitely concerned about that portable product as it's installed and people's understanding of these issues with those products, and that's the next part, right? So yes, we're trying to figure out, I don't think most of the portable products are available yet in retail. I think what we're going to be doing in this pilot is getting AC data, window AC data, and seeing if we can figure out whether this ESRPP is valuable for portables down the road. But most of the portable product is not available through retail yet. But we will look at that issue through the installation pilot. It's the second pilot.
So
Does that make sense?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
What are we doing with the portable heat pumps? What is this doing then if it's not actually selling the product to the?
We will be selling the product.
Okay.
I mean, I think the product that's available through retail, first we're going to figure out for sure how much of the portables is actually being sold through retail.
Okay.
And what form factors. There's some that fit in the window, there's some that plug in. we know that the saddle, the newer ones, the gradients are not in retail right now. I think that we will, if we don't see enough product flowing on the portable side through retail, we can look and test on the window AC as a similar product that will.
Yeah. And
He
if I can just
can
add-
do this better.
No, yeah, I'm gonna make it worse.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, with this particular pilot, and like, Elaine has mentioned, ESRPP has been kind of up and running, and I think it's a proven approach to engage in the PLA market. What hasn't been proven is whether or not the retailers that participate are able and willing to assort regionally and even sub-regionally. So one of the outcomes we're really looking for here is whether or not we can influence these retailers to put certain products at certain price points in stores we identify. Right, so often retailers assort mostly nationally with a little bit of regional based on weather, like put a bunch of decking, equipment in the north and winter. And so we're trying to see, will they engage in this approach? Will they give us data on room air conditioners, which is primarily what's available now, which we can then use to develop strategies when and if more product becomes available. It is a heat pump. This is also looking at induction as well, and there is a lot of induction product available. So we'll be able to kind of test out some of the strategies with induction, which we then think we'll be able to apply to portables down the road.
So just to clarify, this is purely research, you're not actually incentivizing induction?
No, we're incentivizing.
I think there might be something else to your question, tell me if I'm,
Okay.
so this is in a sense, I don't mean this negatively, but it's a narrowly focused pilot, focused on this specific question, this very narrow focused question, which is, can ESRPP be leveraged to change assortment to certain like zip codes, right, that would serve ESJ communities? There could be another question. That's what I'm wondering is when you could have a pilot to also test installation issues, and I think I heard Elaine say
That's the second.
that's
That's the
actually
second.
being contemplated. Is that really what you're asking? It's like, where's the pilot to test these other questions?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the testing of induction because it's a technology that's available and that people can see the difference, but with the portable heat pumps, I feel like there's so many other issues that are involved with it that I don't know what the pilot is,
Well,
especially if you're getting them out into a market and there's a negative response to it because of the issues, or they're not buying it, not because of the price, but because of the issues, the perceived issues. How are you gonna sort that out? Like, I'm not gonna buy that because it's my window's on the ground floor and I'm really worried about safety. And so what?
Those are questions that aren't being addressed by this model.
But how are you going to address them? I think that's the question, right?
Well, because if somebody doesn't buy it and you're looking at whether or not somebody's buying something and you're imagining that it's a price point issue, but it's actually not a price point issue, then how are you integrating that into whatever the pilot is, the strategy?
Well, we will learn that through this pilot because part of the research plan is conducting research we'll be, I mean, I'll have the plan in front of me, but we do have a pretty thorough research plan that involves
The advancement plan
finding
on
out
this
what the customer experience is.
Yeah, that's in
It's
the
not
advancement plan.
only gonna just be keeping at the level of retailers, we will be looking at end users. So even though that's not the primary objective of this pilot, we will be looking at that because we will have real people buying real product and installing it, so we'll wanna know the experience. And that's part of the research.
Peter.
Sorry,
who's next?
I'm sorry. Fred had his hand up for a while. Is it okay if he goes?
Yeah.
Fred?
You guys may know the answer to this. The background is ESJ communities are a lot of different things. I know that low-income communities have a propensity for washing machines, which I know more about, to buy used models. So the question I've got is, do we know if these targeted markets are accustomed to buying things at the national chain stores? Or are they more focused on other supply chains? You know, because, you know, one failure mode is, yeah, we've got lower prices in these zip codes, but the people who are buying them in those zip cards are not the ESJ folks. You know, and when we've done zip code level analysis, we've had to do more analysis to find out who's participating within the zips, because at least some of our zips tend to be income diverse, ethnically diverse, and so on. So the underlying question is, do we know that these are the stores that the folks you're targeting go to?
I think I don't know that specific question, but the question you raise about whether they shop at these stores has come up as part of the overall research that's identified in the advancement plan. And yes, we may not know everything from this pilot for ESJ specific, but we will learn, are the retailers willing to adapt the current model to target different stores differently? That's the fundamental thing we're trying to learn.
So Peter and then Randall was there.
Yeah, and I think Cyan's question, my question is largely the same, because the first question is a yes or no, can we target? The second one's up there is a more textured question, like, under what conditions will they purchase them?
Right.
Under what price points, you know, and what features?
And then,
And that's it's a more complicated, it's not simple yes or no. But then the point I guess I want to make is that, if you can get them to target, that in itself is a market transformation.
Well, that's why we want to try.
Advancement. So that alone could help provide market transformation in completely different markets, completely different products. And worth noting and you know.
I think that's fundamentally why, and to acquire the data to start with, the two fundamental reasons why we want to try this.
Could be an early win.
Yeah.
And, sorry, so this is Randall and then
Oh,
Nate.
sorry.
You're
Yeah,
It's the cupcake.
blame it on the cupcake. That's what I do.
Well, it's still ready.
Randall, see your one. Next time. Go ahead, Randall.
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, related to your question perhaps is, you know, the customer journey. And what is the big picture customer journey and how much of it is involving retailers, and, you know, what is the subset of the entire journey is there. And you know, I think what you said, Karen, you know, we're not looking at the whole customer journey, we're just looking at the this specific part of it. And I think even then you can look at what the customer journey is within that subset as well. And you know, what are the, and you know, I mean, you mentioned the survey questions and all that of that journey. And so I think all of that's important, including, you know, how much support are those retailers providing, you know, in addition to just stocking the equipment, but, you know, somebody internally made a comment, you know, you can have all the stuff on the sales floor that you want, but if nobody's there to tell them what it is and, you know, what the benefits are or anything else, you know, I think, you know, we're missing that opportunity as well. So it seems like that all has to be part of, and maybe, you know, I'm sure you've been thinking about that, but, you know, I just want to emphasize that I think that's a real important aspect of that customer journey within this, you know, narrowly focused.
Just keep in mind, you know, we do have part of the advancement plan, you know, the market characterization is a pretty in-depth piece of research where we will like map out, you know, the supply chain and that customer journey as much as, you know, we can for these individual products, right? So we really understand how and where these products flow. In general, very generically, the retailers in ESRPP for the variety of products that are kind of currently in that program account for between 60 and 80% of sales of that product nationally. Yeah, I think it varies. I think room air conditioners, which we want to move to a heat pump, but room air conditioners probably one of the lower ends of that 60 to 80. And we use Target, Walmart, Costco, a lot of that program. But then looking at things like an induction range, or just ranges in general, you're kind of on the higher end. In case Home Depot, Lowe's, and Best Buy, and then nationwide with the independents covering so much territory.
Again, my own personal customer journey is, the portable heat pumps is not knowing which is a heat pump.
Right,
Yeah.
it's
We're having that same problem trying to put together.
really hard.
This
Yeah,
product.
it's really
Learn it.
hard.
Yeah.
I was looking at a Honeywell product on Amazon. Honeywell, well, gee, that's one brand I recognize of all the dozens of other ones.
Yeah.
And it's a cooling and heating unit, and you had to do way down in the specs
Right.
for it. One time it says heat pump.
There are units out there that tell you they're a heat pump and they're
And they're not. They're
Yeah,
electric
well,
resistant.
Direct just experience.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm
Okay.
going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
let
Yeah,
Haley
yeah.
give Haley the corner. Okay, quick response to Randall. It's been a number of years since I've looked closely at RPP, but I do think at one time at least, the retailers that participated did have to do certain signage and customer and employee education about products. That may have gone away, but someone else would know better. I'm gonna suggest a slight edit to the second research question to try to get at the issue that we've been talking about. What if it said, with more affordable products available, do ESJ target audiences purchase induction and currently available portables? Like something that's really isolating the answer to what's available at retail today, because ultimately, if this becomes an MTI, I know enhancing the products that are available and their attributes and their desirability and their suitability in different types of homes, that's all something that could be accomplished. But I think it would be unfortunate if the answer to question 2 is a big no on
Yeah.
portables.
That's a great
And
point.
you think that
That's a
that is
great point.
telling you
Yes.
something about,
Yeah.
can you get to yes with different
Great
products?
observation.
That's a great point. That was my bad miss.
I would just jump in and say, if you want this to happen this year, you might just focus on induction. Lots of product diversity, lots of store placements. You can buy the portables or the stovetops. There's not such a robust variety for heat pumps, for portable heat pumps.
Yeah, I fully agree.
So could we do this in 2 stages, maybe, do the induction, because you could launch that tomorrow. You could probably do that tomorrow.
I think it comes
Something
down
to
to how
think
much product is available, right? It might be very limited product, but getting the data, I think is so valuable. And also,
Oh, for sure.
objective 1 is, are retailers willing to participate in the program designed this way? And that is applied to our product regardless of whether we offer incentives on one of them.
Just something to think about, because timing.
You wanna do your?
Just one other comment that's just a nibble for me is that, as we're going in there, think about the anthropologist that's going into studying a culture. They're changing the culture as they're studying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I was alluding to, is as we're
Oh,
going
yeah.
in there, are you gonna get negative response either from the retailer or from the customer if they're having a negative response to one of the products? So just keeping that in mind and making sure whatever data you're collecting is also answering that question. And that you're studying yourselves as well as you're studying.
Like, don't peddle junk.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I'm worried about.
I heard you.
That was insane. Yeah, I do love my portable heat. I just say, but for other reasons, other people might not, so.
Remember the CFOs.
Yeah, it's a great point. One point comment and then one, I think, interesting, piece of data here. We do rely on the retailers in some ways to identify a product that they're willing to stock and sell, right? Because they care a lot about the customer experience, and a lot more than they care about the $3 in incentives to get them. We also are able to get and track returns through this data. Which is, I think, an interesting data point and tells you a little bit about how happy the customer is with the So there's something there we can.
Right.
I want, so Randall, and
Quick
then
one.
we need to move on. Yeah. I'm interested in that. Go ahead.
Some of you went to the last MTAB meeting and saw, I don't know if you noticed, but we had shelves of portable, induction cooktops, in our loaner program. All the utilities have that. And I don't know if that can be somehow tied in with the retail journey within these retailers. Because that way, somebody goes into your store, says, what is this? How do they work? Is it for me? For those people, there could be something that directs them towards the loaner program where they can try it out, so.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, just a quick snapshot of the timeline. Again, it's pretty aggressive. We've had some initial conversations with folks, but we need the go light to keep going. These are just some of the tasks that are outlaid here.
So month one
Is-
would ideally align with February to March.
There you go. Yeah.
Questions? Discussion. So why don't we go ahead and do the second one, Elaine, and then
Okay.
we'll, we can talk about both.
Okay, so this is the second one, which I think we'll get to a lot more of your questions about the actual challenges with the install and the experience with the product. So this one is about testing, the installation practices with these things. And there's different form factors, right? Did we take out the pictures? I guess we didn't change this. And so things that we want to investigate with actual people in their homes is on this are they able to install these with the directions they're given and the resources they have, especially with ESJ communities. We want to leverage other people that are already doing this, out in the field with customers. So we have starting to talk to USGBC LA, who's already got some electrification pilots at the port, and they also have some in the Central Valley that they would love to include this product in other work that they're doing, things like that. Can we build some awareness around the benefits of these products compared to the window AC unit that's been sitting in the folks' home for a long, long time? And can we use this as a tool to engage manufacturers too, and what we learn about the installation practices and the problems that folks have? They all feed into the logic model that way. I think Randall, you called out in our plan that we did not include this one at the time. So that was a miss on my part. That's in there now. So we'll test all three of these. There's actually
There's also the U-shaped one too.
yeah, there's a U shape, but we couldn't find a picture of that.
We haven't found it, there's not a U-shaped heat pump that's available, but we talked about if we're just doing an install practice, maybe it's a U-shaped air conditioner and we do a heat pump.
Because those are coming. The DNS said they're building those. Yeah. And this.
One's up or?
I have one. Yeah, I love it.
The U-shaped heat pump?
No, it's the U-shaped air conditioner. It's the MyDay air conditioner with a variable speed compressor, and it's pretty awesome. Variable speed, it's really
Can you
quiet.
pull up a picture of it?
I can't have it right here.
Were you able to install it yourself, Jeff?
Yeah, yes, I was able to install it.
More of that.
Not a representative sample, thank you, Eric. Yeah. And I have single hung windows, which is a requirement for this particular thing. Sliders, not so much.
So 3, maybe 4 versions of this. We're looking to do up to 100 in the pilot right now, the way it's going. So things that this strategy test would verify is we know part of the business case for these products is that they're portable, that the renter can own them, right? It's like their window AC unit, and they're self-installed, excuse me. So we need to verify that, if that's really true. That people really value these and will hold on to them, move, things like that, and they can actually install them themselves. We want to understand the impact of these on consumer behavior with other equipment in their homes. So if they have a resistance heater, if they have another window AC unit in their home, we want to learn about that. Again, another tool for building manufacturer engagement for us to go back and talk to folks about this. We had a call with Gradient the other day, and we're super excited that we're trying this in California. And again, building our body of understanding and potential interventions with ESJ communities, and specifically multifamily primarily for this one. And so as I mentioned, there's the USGBC LA that's very interested in partnering on this. And there's another group here in the Bay Area out of San Mateo County, El Salvador. Yes.
Yes.
We just had a call with them this week, and they were super excited.
And these are for small, single family and multi-family.
Yes, small, so the one in Los Angeles, the homes by the port are all older homes under 1,000 square feet. Someone like 800
San
square feet.
Pedro.
Yeah, and then the one in the valley is a multi-family. Again, the timeline here, looking at engaging CBOs to implement this, working with manufacturers on available product and purchase, finalize the scope and plan quickly, and create the materials for the pilot, implement the pilot, and then conduct the assessment with the evaluation team. Pretty quick, we didn't get much feedback on this one, public comments, but for your feedback. We'll have more.
Again, mentioned the customer journey aspect of this. I know this is more narrowly focused on that, but I think, you know, if you're pre-selecting products to have people install and see, you know, how they do it, I think that's one thing, but you know, prior to that, you know, again, the purchase decision, the purchasing of a heat pump is really hard to find and hard to do. So I think this one I'd really like to see expanded to include a little bit more of the customer journey. And I realize this is just installation. And since the last meeting, I went to Amazon. And for the portable, you know, one on wheels with the ducts, there are a whole bunch of, well, several vendors that now have the ducting kits for casement windows.
Oh, that was a question I had before. Cool.
Yes, well, I did too, you know, and I would have actually bought that for my own personal use if they were available at the time. Because I didn't have any double hung windows where I wanted to place my unit. But, you know, I think Simon's point before, you know, the ones for the double duct windows, especially for casement windows, that stuff is like paper thin.
Not very secure.
Yeah.
They're not secure
Not efficient.
and
Not efficient.
definitely not efficient. It's better than nothing, but
Single payment.
you know,
Maybe.
Does he gain with the single family?
so anyway, you know, there are other aspects of the installation that I think, I mean, again, you have the more expanded customer journey, but then, you know, you within the customer journey of saying, here's a portable heat pump, go and install it. You know, I think you know, I don't know, I mean, there's gonna be some instructions on what to do with the thing, obviously, but, you know, at the same time, I don't know how much handholding there's gonna be, you know, saying, you have a double hung window, this is what you're gonna do. If you have a casement window, you do this, and if you don't have either, what do you do? You know, and that kind of thing.
Same.
Yeah, just wanted to build on your point. We recently went in and bought a low flow toilet. And there was a list on our local water district of which toilets we could buy. And I had to stand in the aisle and look through that list and look at every single manufacturer's, like, it was just ridiculous. I think I was there for like an hour and a half.
It's a great.
And just totally insane. And so whatever we're doing,
I do
we
care.
not do that.
Do our best not to do that.
I'm just saying, because just that
Most people
point
don't
of
care.
trying to like, is it a heat pump, is
It's
it
not gonna
not?
happen.
So, yeah, no, it's not, yeah, I'm weird.
Dedication.
Yeah.
One other question is, what is the baseline system? Is it, is it a different kind of system, like a mini split? Or is it, cooling only with strictly, or gas,
Gas wall heaters, maybe?
gas wall heaters? So, in terms of evaluating the energy savings, I'm just curious what the baseline is.
So for this particular product.
Yeah.
So again, phase two, we are going to kind of reevaluate, the baseline market conditions and, our total market adoption curves, and verify to the Canada Energy assumptions. For the stage two KRC impact and TXP value, we saw the advancement plan. We looked at a mix of conditions. We provided a small air conditioning benefit, making the assumption that the folks who would buy a portable heat pump would probably also buy a portable air conditioner. But ideally, these would be a little more efficient than your kind of standard baseline air conditioner. You get a little credit there. And then we are looking at, I believe, the primary heat source we used was electric resistance and radiant, gas radiant, and multifamily. And I can't say for sure on the single family side, but the majority of the benefit was on the multifamily, where we see that being kind of a target market.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, most of the gas heating systems are probably wall furnace. We have virtually no radiant.
Oh, sorry, I meant wall furnace, not radiant. Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.
Kind
I mean, there's electric baseboard in.
Not,
Up here,
not too much in
SoCal.
up here.
A lot of gas.
Well, electric baseboards, there's large savings, obviously, both carbon and energy savings.
So then, we also made assumptions this is more of a displacement than a replacement.
Yeah, this.
So we didn't account for all the heating load, just a portion of it.
So one question is, what type of baseline is it? What they have existing, or is it looking at the customer
What they would have
journey
bought.
and what they would have bought, absent any, instruction, direction, whatever? What would they have bought? So I don't know if baseline is appropriate, or you look at multiple baselines, or,
I just would say, so the appendix to the advancement plan
Savings.
documents what we assumed for, once again, this very preliminary, we just had to make assumptions, right? Because the advancement plan is pre the phase two research, which is the actual in-depth research that we're gonna use to create models that are really, solid. So shortcut assumptions documented in the advancement plan appendix. Then we will update those based on research, and those appendices will turn into very solid, much more detailed documentation with the MTAB plan that will be reviewed for adoption into the portfolio of phase three adoption. So I can't tell you right I don't want to off the top of my head say it was this. There were 8 different cases. But those are all great questions. We've had the conversations. We put our initial assumptions in. We will definitely be making those research driven during phase 2.
I guess the last question to ask though is, absent of any research,
Do you assume?
you may want to make the decision early so you can avoid not researching what you don't need to. Waste a lot of time. Because if you're not going to use existing conditions, because that's a lot of research to figure out what people have, today. But if you're just saying, well, what is a customer, based on the customer journey absent input, and have that as a baseline, that's a totally different kind of research.
Right.
And you could, so.
So for example, we're gonna have a use case where someone's just adding AC where they didn't have it before.
That's right.
Then the appropriate baseline would be, what would they have done? Would they have done nothing, or would they have purchased
Right,
it?
and like this San Juan,
Would they have to purchase something, they start
San Joaquin pilot, yeah, the baseline or the target for that was, those who didn't have, natural gas. So they were looking at non-natural gas combustion equipment as baseline. So that's, you know, propane, yeah, propane, wood, whatever, you know, so and it could, and the, you know, the new could be gas or electric, or, you know. So that's kind of a different target, but the point of it is, you know, that's a very specific baseline. And that could even influence, you know, this in terms of where is this going in? Are they propane? Are they using propane now or natural gas? If you're looking at, you know, comparing the baseline to existing versus what they would have bought X in input, so.
I take your point.
Yeah.
Good points, I'm not sure that's all.
Christine's
really.
I was just gonna make another note on that, actually, because we just made a change to the refrigerant avoided cost calculator. And so for replacing a gas furnace with a heat pump, going in, they were assuming that all of the cooling load was added. And then we thought, well, some of those people are gonna be buying AC, and like, we're looking for a technology that will serve their cooling needs as well as their heating needs, and so we compiled some data on that, and actually cooling adoption and saturations have increased over time, and then now we have a hybrid baseline essentially.
That's good to know.